Miyabi has been one of the most anticipated characters in Zenless Zone Zero, and I have the amazing opportunity to hop into the creator beta server to give you guys a build guide and kit breakdown right before she releases in 1.4. She's easily one of the strongest characters in the game, and you'll definitely want her on your team. If you want to pull for her, she'll be releasing on December 18th with the 1.4 update, and what's really cool is that she's actually going to be around throughout the entire update, so that is around 6 weeks that you'll be able to pull for her. Miyabi is an anomaly character under the Section 6 faction with a new damage type called Frost. Now, even though the Frost attribute is new, it calculates its damage and buff effects based on the Ice attribute. When dealing Frost damage, you accumulate Frost anomaly buildup, which is separate from Ice anomaly buildup, and triggers the freeze effect and applies the frostbite status. You still have the same freeze and shatter effects that you do with ice damage, but with frostbite, the effect increases the crit damage received by the target for a limited time. Since she's an anomaly character, here are all the materials you're going to need to upgrade her to max level. For Miyabi's best W engines, her signature, the Hailstorm Shrine, is easily the best option in slot, and if you want to pull for this engine, it's actually going to be available in its own weapon banner alongside Miyabi. This engine is insane. Not only do you get a base attack and a crit rate percentage bump, but with the perk Frostbane Star, you get a crit damage increase. Also, when you use the X special attacker, when any member applies an attribute anomaly, the equipper's ice damage increases by a percentage. Again, this is only rank 1, so it's going to be 20%, but you can stack that up to 2 times, lasting 15 seconds. The duration of each stack is calculated separately. Obviously, the ice damage increase is great, but having the crit rate and crit damage percentage is fantastic considering her stats are focused around these two things. Even though I highly recommend pulling for her engine, there are 2 other S-rank engines you can use. The first one would be Bernice's signature engine, the Flamemaker Shaker, with a base attack and attack percentage increase. And with this perk, Fuel on the Rocks, when the agent is off-field, you get a passive energy regen increase. When you use your X special or assist attack, you get a stacking damage bonus that can stack up to 10 times. When you're off the field, the effect is doubled. And upon obtaining the damage increase effect, if the number of current stacks is greater than or equal to 5, then the equipper's anomaly proficiency increases by 50. And the other one would be Grace's signature engine, the Fusion Compiler, giving a base attack and pen ratio percentage bump. And with this perk Data Flood, you get an attack increased by a certain percentage, and when you use your special or X special attack, the equipper's anomaly proficiency is increased by a certain amount for 8 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. If you don't have any S-rank engines, don't worry, there are a couple of A-rank engines you can use. The first one would be Electro Lip Gloss from the Battle Pass. You'll get a base attack and anomaly proficiency bump, and with this perk, Kiss of Death, when there are enemies inflicted with attribute anomaly on the field, the equipper's attack increases by 10%, and they deal an additional 15% more damage to that target. Next would be Rainforest Gourmet. You'll get a base attack and anomaly proficiency bump, and with this perk, Dinner's Ready, for every 10 energy consumed, the equipper gains a buff that increases attack by a certain percentage for 10 seconds, and that can stack up to 10 times. And the last one is Weeping Gemini, giving you a base attack and an attack percentage bump, and with this perk, Lingering Cries, when a squad member inflicts an attribute anomaly on an enemy, the equipper gains a buff that increases anomaly proficiency by a certain amount, stacking up to 4 times. The effect expires when the target recovers from a stun or is defeated. For Miyabi's best drive disc, you're going to want 4-piece Branch and Blade Song with either 2-piece Woodpecker Electro or Polar Metal. Branch and Blade Song is going to be one of the new drive disc sets that you can earn in the 1.4 update, and the reason it's perfect for Miyabi is because with 2 pieces, you get a crit damage percentage bump of 16%, and at 4 pieces, when Anomaly Mastery exceeds or equals 115 points, the equipper's crit damage increases by 30%. When any squad member applies freeze or triggers the shatter effect on an enemy, the equipper's crit rate increases by 12%. Essentially, with this, you get a free crit damage and crit rate percentage bump, which is perfect for Miyabi. We want as many hits of her kit to hit a crit hit as possible. Now, the reason I said 2-piece Woodpecker Electro, if you don't have enough crit rate, having 2-piece will give you a crit rate bump of 8%. But if you're good on crit rate, that's why I recommended 2-piece Polar Metal, because you get an ice damage increase of 10%. I don't believe 2-piece Freedom Blues or 2-piece Chaos Jazz giving the anomaly proficiency plus 30 is going to do much for her kit. Potentially, you could do 2-piece Hormone Punk or 2-piece of the other new set coming in 1.4, Astro Voice, giving the attack plus 10%. That might be good as well. All I gotta say is that there's gonna be a lot of testing to do when the 1.4 update officially releases. For your drive disc main stats, in the 4th slot, you're either gonna want crit damage, crit rate, or attack percentage. In the 5th slot, either ice damage or attack percentage. And in the 6th slot, either anomaly mastery or attack percentage. For your drive disc substats, you definitely want crit damage and crit rate. attack percentage, anomaly proficiency, and then lastly flat attack or pen. For what skills to prioritize upgrading first for Miyabi, her core skills are obviously a big one. After that, I would go basic attack, then ultimate, X special, assist, and then dodge. And here are all the materials to upgrade all of these skills. Now, since it's been confirmed by official sources, Miyabi's Frostburn attribute still falls under ice damage, so when you upgrade your basic skills, you will need those ice chips to upgrade those. But when it comes to the core skills, I can't show you those materials just yet. Again, I will confirm those in the comments when they release during 1.4, but also take note, during the 1.4 special program livestream, they did show off a new expert challenge and notorious hunt, so keep those things in mind. A majority of Miyabi's kit revolves around her core passive Searing Cold. I know there's a lot to cover here, but trust me, it's all going to make sense when we get to the damage rotation. When Miyabi deals frost damage, she applies Ice Fire to the target lasting 30 seconds, so when accumulating frost anomaly buildup against targets with Ice Fire, it actually increases that anomaly buildup rate by 100% of Miyabi's crit rate up to an increase of 80%. And like I mentioned before, Frost is its own independent attribute, so when it triggers Freeze, Shatter, and Frostbite, that can react with other attribute anomalies, including the Ice attribute anomaly, which can trigger Disorder. So for example, if you freeze a target with Sukaku and follow up with Miyabi with her Frostburn, and you get the anomaly to kick in, you can actually trigger Disorder there. When she applies Frostbite, which again is what happens when your Frost anomaly reaches 100%, to enemies with Ice Fire, it will consume Ice Fire and trigger Frostburn Break, dealing frost damage equal to 1500% of Miyabi's attack and causing the target to enter the Frostburn state. And again, 1500 is obviously the max of the core skill. All squad members will accumulate 20% more anomaly buildup against enemies under the Frostburn state, but Miyabi cannot reapply Ice Fire to these enemies. Now, the Frostburn state ends when Frostbite expires, and when the state remains active, triggering another attribute anomaly will overwrite Frostbite and remove Frostburn, so keep that in mind. Now that we covered that, I want to talk about Fallen Frost and how you can obtain points of it. Now you can hold up to 6 points. When you trigger Frostburn Break, she'll get 1 point of Fallen Frost, and this effect can trigger once every 10 seconds. You can also get these points by using your X special attack Hizetsu. So if you have enough energy, you can press your special attack button, rush forward, unleashing powerful slashes against enemies along the way, dealing massive frost damage. Upon activating the skill, you get 2 points of Fallen Frost, and you are invulnerable while using the skill. And what's cool is that after using the skill, if you have enough energy, you can either hold or press the button again. It'll consume extra energy and unleash a powerful follow-up attack against the enemies in front, dealing massive frost damage. And when you use the skill again, you get 2 more points of Fallen Frost, and again, you are invulnerable while using the skill. Now, to use these Fallen Frost points, we're going to have to talk about the basic attack. Now, the basic attack Kazuhana does not use these. This is just her regular basic attack, doing 5 slashes, 2 physical, 3 frost damage, and you can block enemy attacks during the 5th hit of the basic attack. That's all cool. I want to talk about the basic attack Shimosuke. If you have at least 2 points of Fallen Frost, you can actually hold your basic attack to perform this attack. Now, the reason you want 6 charges is because each level will consume 2 hits. So if you only have 2 points, you'll do the first hit. If you have 4 points, you'll do 2 hits. And if you have 6 points, you will do the entire animation. Whether you release the attack button or when Fallen Frost is completely depleted, Miyabi will draw her blade and unleash a powerful slash ahead based on the current charge level. Again, that's why you want 6, because you want the most damage, and it does some crazy frost damage. Now, once it's used up, she will exit the Shimosuke stance. While she's using the attack, she is invulnerable, and when you enter the battlefield, Miyabi immediately obtains 3 points of Fallen Frost, so you're already halfway there right when you start the battle. Now that we've talked about that, I want to get back to the core skill and talk about her additional ability, Bask in Frost. So if you have another character in your squad that's either a support character or shares the same faction, the basic attack Shimosuke damage is increased by 60%. So that massive damage that I already mentioned from the Fallen Frost points with the whole basic attack is going to do even more damage now. When any squad member triggers Disorder, Miyabi obtains 2 points of Fallen Frost, and that held basic attack during the next stance will ignore 30% of the target's ice resistance. So this is why it's good to potentially have another anomaly character on your team to help trigger Disorder, so Miyabi can take advantage of her additional ability fully. Miyabi's dodge, dash attack, and dodge counter aren't super important. Same thing with the assist. The main thing to note is that she does do a defense assist, so keep that in mind. And under chain attack, her chain attack is pretty cool. You'll deal some massive frost damage, but the ultimate, Lingering Snow, when your decibel rating is maxed out, she'll unleash those powerful slashes then pause before unleashing the finishing move, dealing massive frost damage. If you've ever seen, Devil May Cry or Virgil, bury the light, that's literally what this animation is. And upon activating the skill, she gains 3 points of Fallen Frost, and you increase your ice damage by 30% for 12 seconds. Now for Miyabi's damage rotation, even though the skills sound pretty complicated, it's actually very easy to use. The main thing is building up those Fallen Frost points, whether you use the basic attack to build up the Frost Anomaly to trigger Frostburn Break, the X Special, your chain attack, or your ultimate. The main thing is getting up to 6 Fallen Frost points. And remember, with her additional ability, when any of your team members trigger Disorder, she'll gain 2 more Fallen Frost points. So if you get 4 points on her, and then switch to your other team members to, build up some Anomaly, trigger a Disorder, and then switch back to Miyabi, then she will have your 6 points. And once you have those 6 Fallen Frost points, it's time to hold down your basic attack to unleash that massive combo of attacks, dealing massive frost damage. And remember, if you decide to go for her engine and the new disc drive set, Branch and Blade Song, those are going to help her massively, especially in the crit rate and crit damage department. If you can guarantee that basic attack hit to be a guaranteed crit hit, as long as your crit damage stat is pretty high, it's going to deal some crazy damage. For Miyabi's best team options, the one thing that I find super cool is that she works with support characters, which means she can work on a variety of teams, including free-to-play. If you are a free-to-play player, pairing her up with Ambi and Nicole with the Magnetoboo is going to be fine. With the setup, you can actually proc all 3 of their additional abilities. With Ambi, you get the stun. With Nicole, you get the crowd control and the big Ether Blast with her X Special attack. Then you can focus on Miyabi as your main DPS. If you wanted a Section 16, pairing her up with Yanagi and Sukaku with the new Agent Gulliver Boo coming out is going to be pretty good. Yanagi with the Electric Anomaly buildup and being able to proc Disorder on her own is going to buff Miyabi. And with Sukaku, she has her own separate ice damage. Remember, Ice and Frostburn, they fall under the same thing, but they both deal their own separate things, which means we can build up, Ice Anomaly, trigger Shatter and Frost with her as well, plus buff Miyabi. You could also sub in Harumasa in there as well. Again, he'll be coming out with Miyabi in the 1.4 update, and we are getting him for free, which is going to be pretty cool. I do plan on making a separate build guide for him, but if you want to sub in, either Yanagi or Sukaku with Harumasa, I think that'd be fine as well. If you wanted a Sons of Caledon team, pairing her up with Bernice and Lucy with the Red Mochus Bang Boo is going to be perfect. This setup actually triggers all 3 of their additional abilities. With Bernice, obviously she's great on and off field with the passive burn damage. Lucy's fantastic as well, plus having the help out with her boars is good, and then you can switch to Miyabi and continue proccing the Frostburn. You could also switch out Bernice for Lighter, again with a stun character, being able to stun those enemies quickly. We'll be able to do more damage with Miyabi, but with Lighter specifically, not only does he buff fire agents, he also buffs ice agents, which is going to be fantastic for Miyabi. Again, I already have a full build guide out on the channel right now if you want to check it out. There are so many teams she could work with, so if there's a team that I didn't mention that you like using, let me know in the comments. The last thing I want to talk about is Miyabi's Mindscape Cinema. So if you decide you want to go for multiple copies of her, she does have some great buffs. For her M1, Frost Atop the Snow, when you use that held basic attack, for every 1 point of Fallen Frost consumed, it's going to ignore 6% of the target's defense, stacking up to 6 times until the attack is over. And when you use a charge level 3 slash, which again is all 6 Fallen Frost points, and hits an enemy suffering from Frostburn, it will immediately remove the Frostburn state and increase all squad members' anomaly buildup rate by 20% for 10 seconds. Her M2 Breath technique gives a 30% increase to her regular basic attack and dodge counter damage, and she gains 1 point of Fallen Frost when the final move of the 5th hit of the basic attack hits an enemy. Upon entering the battlefield, she will also immediately obtain 6 points of Fallen Frost, and her crit rate is increased by 15%. Her M3 Martial Discipline just gives a +2 level bump to all of her skills. Her M4 Rupture, her Frostburn Break damage gets a 30% increase, and upon triggering Frostburn Break, Miyabi generates 250 more decibels toward her ultimate. Her M5 Anniversary also gives another +2 level bump to all of her skills. And lastly, her M6 Prodigious Talent, when you use that held basic attack, Miyabi obtains Polar, which increases that attack damage by an extra 30%. After obtaining Polar, Miyabi will automatically draw her blade and unleash powerful slashes based on the current charge level upon consuming Fallen Frost. Before Fallen Frost is completely depleted, the draw and slashes will not interrupt charging under the Shimosuke stance. Each occurrence of Shimosuke stance can perform up to 3 draws and slashes. Basically, that's a lot of damage. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is my Miyabi build guide and kit breakdown. Right when I saw Miyabi during the launch of the game, I knew I had to have her, but having her own damage type on top of being an anomaly character just makes this even better. I almost have 100 pulls saved up at the recording of this video, so I'm definitely going to be pulling for her and her W engine. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Are you going to be pulling for Miyabi, or are you going to save your pulls for Harumasa? Again, we do get a free copy of him, so you could pull on his banner and potentially get M1 or M2 by the end of the update on top of getting his W engine. Or are you going to be saving your pulls for the next update, which we saw a little teaser of during the Game Awards? In any event, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like on it, subscribe to the channel, and turn on that bell next to notifications so you don't miss out on any Zenless Zone Zero content we're coming out with here on the channel. We also live stream here on YouTube and also over on Twitch. That link will be in the description, so no matter what game I'm playing, if you want to come hang out, come drop by the chat. And if you want to join my community, be sure to join my Discord. Again, that link will also be in the description. We have people talking about Zenless Zone Zero on top of a variety of other games, PC tech, anime, and more. And lastly, if you want to help support the channel even more, you can look into becoming a member. Now, if you don't know what a membership is, it's essentially like a Twitch subscription. It's technically cheaper than a Twitch subscription, but you do get exclusive emotes and monthly badges, and the big benefit, which is getting access to all of my long form videos early. So if you would like more information, all you have to do is press the join button next to subscribe, and that'll give you a rundown with all the details you need. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been your boy. We'll catch you in the next video.